everybody. It's now live stream. Down. And we're actually just waiting for a stream to start. Welcome. I'm actually going to do some live commentaries just about this video as it goes on, and we'll see what they say. Just in case you guys don't know who I am, I'm Daryl, Simple Millennial. I build websites and mobile applications. And right now we're waiting for a live stream to begin. It's part of the tools I use, and I wanted to just do a live reaction video to the product demos and with the co-founder of the company. So it should be fun.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. I hear from you that the turnout is pretty good this morning. I think people are a little bit excited. I'm excited. Emmanuel's excited. I'm really grateful to everyone who showed up. I know some of our longtime users are here with us, some newer members. I think there's just a lot of people here today, and thank you. I'm really excited to dive in. This is going to be fun. This is going to be casual. It's going to be pretty intense. I'm going to demo some new things in the Bubble product, and then we're going to do some Q&A. So feel free to put questions in the chat. The Bubble team is going to be watching the chat during the course of the event and pulling out questions, and then at the end, Emmanuel and I are going to answer them live for you all. So that's what we're going to do. Everything that we're going to demo today, we started working on this in the last month. How's that possible? Well, our number one priority as a company right now is speeding up how fast we can get from idea to ship code in the Bubble product. I think it's the biggest thing we can do and the most impactful lever we can do, and AI has really changed what's possible here. Now, AI doesn't buy us this for free, right? We have to do a fair amount of engineering work on our end to teach AI agents how to work safely in the Bubble code base, to put in guardrails and tests and protections to make sure AI doesn't cause more problems than it solves.
There must be billionaires.
And we're putting a lot of effort into
one.
that work. So
last time I checked, I think the product Bubble is the tool I use to build websites and
June is going to be about taking all the
like
learnings from
first, and all I'm saying is like
based on those learnings, so that we can then
in their ecosystem, it's about evaluated to be like their
so
products are making about $1 billion.
We're still sort of mid-process, but even though that we're only sort of partway through this journey to gain our code base super fast for AI, we are already seeing really exciting stuff. And this event is basically to give us a chance to celebrate a little bit with you all. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some demos, and all the stuff is hot off the press, right? Some of it's in beta, some of it was released today, some of it's going to be released right after this live stream. We're prioritizing getting this out to you all, so
so they actually released a couple new stuff yesterday.
Give us feedback.
Yesterday this video came out.
If there's issues, let us know.
These are the co-founders.
Yeah, really excited to share it with you. So I'll turn over to Emmanuel to say a few words and then dive into the very first demo.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and show you what the team has been cooking over the last 4 weeks. These features have been some of these features have been requested a lot by the community. There has been a lot of excitement online about some things that might come out. So I can't wait to show you. A lot of these are geared toward our more active users, even though, I mean, of course, they benefit everyone. But for this initial work, as Josh explained on our AI journey, we wanted to really do things for the most active users that use Bubble every day. And so
they're still building AI, which is good.
Really can't wait to show you what we have, and I hope you love it. All right, and I guess we're going to start. So we'll go through these demos. Josh and I will alternate. I mean, we have quite some, so we'll go pretty quickly. We'll have a back and forth, and because we want to take some time at the end for the Q&A. So let's get into this. So I'm going to start with the first one, sharing my screen, which is this one. Right. So this is I don't know if it's a top request for the community, but something that has come up a lot. And in fact, I was seeing people on Twitter a few minutes ago actually almost speculating whether that would come out today. So I can't wait to share this. This is something that's going to ship to our users right after this. So very quickly, this is a very short demo, but I'm still extremely excited to do this. So there is a new little button here that you can see. It's a little moon. And if you click on that thing, well, oh, here it is. And we finally have dark mode in the editor. Which obviously goes everywhere. So I'm not going to go through all the tabs, but basically a dark mode experience that can go back and forth. Something highly requested that gives a more modern feel to the editor, better for your eyes, and I hope you all love it. This is for the new property editor. I mean, this is some work we could do because of the new PE. So please use the new PE to start benefiting from this right after this, this demo. We'll get that live.
All right, and I'll jump in with the next demo. So if you've used Bubble a lot, you have probably spent a lot of time doing this: design, workflow, design, workflow, design, workflow, design, workflow. What if you didn't have to do that? What if you want to look at a workflow right from the design tab? So here's a button. This is a little app I asked Bubble AI to whip up for me. And this button has a little workflow that runs on it, and it's right here. This element is clipped to make changes to habit and then trigger a custom event. And more, you can actually edit it from this tab. So I can drag and change the order of these two. I can insert an additional workflow step. This is the familiar add new action thing. So I can
it's a drag and drop flow builder.
I can also jump to the workflow or any of the actions. And actually, let's jump to the trigger recalculate streak, because another frustration, right, is if you
I like
have
all
a
of
workflow
this.
that calls a custom event, you might want to see what it does. Well, now you can right in line, so you don't have to jump over to it. Same interface. You can also, you know, reorder from here and add a new step in from here. So nice little accelerator to help your bubbling go more smoothly.
And now back to me for this one here. So this is
and what they're doing, they're going straight into live demos, product demos, and I guess some of them are actually.
This one actually already gets shipped, so maybe you noticed that online. But it's basically a way to give some names to some items that otherwise you would have to click in on them to understand what they do, which again makes it much easier for people to work on larger applications and especially for collaboration. So let me show you what that looks like in practice. So here we have like a pretty standard, you know, search for user count. And so with the new property editor, you see here, and that's tells you this is all the users created before an arbitrary date and time. And well, which date is a problem, right? So clicking on here, you can see it's before 1st of January 2025. So you can say before 2025. So here it is. So having this here, you can see it makes it much easier to read. And you can do the same thing for the search here. So you can say users before 2025. And just doing this makes it much easier for you to read this. We have similar thing for find and replace, for instance. So here, for some reasons, you know, I'm changing.
I might pull up the chat.
Don't ask why.
The live stream chat that they're
here
going
we say
for,
replacing
on their live streams to see what they're talking about.
Domain. And just by doing this, you can read that. So again, the idea here is to make it much easier for people to collaborate. You know, little things that actually make a big impact when you spend hours in the editor every day.
All right, and what I'm going to show next is very much along the same lines. It's about making Bubble apps a little bit more self-documenting, a small tweak to just make lives a little bit better. So right here, I have a reusable element, and that reusable element has a property set on it called Open Habits, and it takes a dynamic expression. What does Open Habits mean? I don't know. Not very obvious, right? So let's go to the reusable element. I'm editing it, and I'm going over to where the property is defined. Here we go. You know, it takes a yes, no, and we just shipped this description field. So displays a badge indicating there are habits to check off when set to yes. So now I've just documented what the purpose of this is. So if I go back to the index page, see there's a little info icon, and when I hover it, that's the text that I just typed in. So adding a little documentation in line to the edit. Over to you.
Back to me for something really exciting, actually, to me, because I think that's one of the most requested feature from the community. I think it was actually 14th on the idea board for quite some time, and has led to a lot of people finding workarounds to do what I'm about to show you natively. So, you know, often when you have an API workflow in your app, a backend workflow, you want to be able to return data, and then people will have to use the API connector to do cumbersome calling your own application to be able to return data from that API. And so the team has built that over the last couple of weeks. And so now I'm going to show you what this looks like. So here we have the page. So it's a simple application. Let's start with the backend workflow. So we have a custom event here that does something very simple for this demo, which is it charges the credit card, basically. So it takes a user and a price as parameters, and we want it to return two text here, so the charge ID and the intent ID. First action is going to be a charge a user with a safe credit card using the user and the price that were set as a parameter, and then a return data action. And so that's the kind of thing that before, if you wanted to do that, you had to use the API connector to get the data back for your page, if you're not calling that from the outside world, like a traditional API. And so here, so the logic here, so I have here a button and an alert where I want to display the result of the call. So now you can trigger, you have an action. Actually, let me build that in front of you. In fact, that's even better. Where I'm going to say here in backend workflow, you have a new action that says trigger a backend custom event. And here you have the only event I have, which is charge a credit card. We're going to say the user is going to be the current user, and the price, let's say it's $20. And so that will run the workflow. And then I added an alert to show you how we can get the results. So we can, using the dynamic dropdown here, you have result of previous action. So here you can result the data.
And I want to dig into
the
history.
Workflow,
so it's like I want to be able to like
hack. And so you have the charge ID here and the intent
see
ID.
how
So
far the
very simple change, but in practice will make a lot of applications design much cleaner and avoid again this kind of calling your own application from the API connector, which didn't really make sense. So really excited about that.
One fun fact about that one is the first draft of it was built by one of the Bubble developers on our team who maintains Bubble's homepage, because this is like something that like the hardcore Bubble development community has been desperate for ages. And the fact that you know, this Bubble developer Andrew doesn't really know that much code, but using AI tools, he was able to get something working in our code base, partnered with engineering, and got this out the door. So pretty exciting stuff, and sort of a sign for the future of the direction of Bubble right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to show a demo, maybe a notch less exciting, but I still think it's actually pretty cool. So let me share my screen again. Now, here I have this, this is like a list of habits, and I want to change the style of a habit that's been updated in the last 24 hours. So I have some conditional formatting, you know, when parent group's habit has been updated, you know, in the last day. So I could manually set a property here, but I actually have a style defined that I want it to set to. So if I look at the style tab, and I have under text, I have this this streak style. And, you know, I could duplicate this style in the condition, but that's not very maintainable, right? Like you kind of want to use the style tab to define the style. So now you can, as of about 45 minutes ago, this feature went live. So if I look for style, I can just pick style, select, and then change it to that streak style. And I'll show you this in run mode for the application. We just updated this page. And let's see, if I click on mark complete for drink 8 glasses of water, it turns orange to match the new style. So there we go, hot off the presses. And I'll hand it back over to Emmanuel for the next demo.
Yep, thank you. Let me share my screen. So the next thing I want to demo here is about adding a little bit more AI in our product. I mean, of course, we have the agent that people interact with, but there are many places in the editor where I think AI could help a lot to generate things, whether it's content, like images, and that's what I'm about to show you, text, expressions, there are a lot of things we can do, and it's not something we have pushed yet very hard on. And so now we're starting to do this with images, and the goal is over time to add that to way more things. So here is like the editor. So I'm going to add an image here. And so now what you see here is where you can upload an image. You have this little button here that says generate with AI. You can recognize the same icon as the AI agent. And so by doing this, you can start describing an image. So I have to come up with a prompt on the fly. Don't judge me, but let's say dragons taking over sunny New York, because it's sunny today.
Yeah, we're live from New York City, guys. So this dragon thing is real. I'm keeping an eye out for a real scenario here.
And so what joke aside, I mean, what we're using behind the scene is some OpenAI models here, like GPT Image 2 and GPT 5.1 for this type of work. But over time, we always pick, what we think is the best model for this. And so it takes a little bit of time, but that's not on our side, actually. It's on the AI side of things. But now I'm curious to see, I haven't tried that prompt yet, so I'm curious to see what the AI is thinking this should look like. Let's give it a second. In the meantime, all right, so it's pretty good. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. We have it curled around the Empire State Building, which is sort of the iconic.
Right. And I'm glad I put sunny, because otherwise it would be a very dark and gloomy day, and that would be depressing to watch. Joke aside, what you can do on images, you can do on backgrounds. And again, this is a pattern. Of course, we want to see how much people interact and how people use this. But the idea is to push that in more places in the editor very soon. So very excited about that one as well.
All right. Next one. So caveat, this is the one demo of this live stream that is not immediately going out the door. We want to show it to you anyway because we are so excited by it. It's in early alpha. We're starting to test it with a small handful of users, and we expect it to change significantly before wide-scale distribution. So what you see in the editor might look a little bit different from this, but I think directionally this is where we want to be going as a company. So wanted to give you all a little sneak peek right now.
That one is really cool, actually, and that's a great product expansion for us. So very excited about that one.
Oops, did I get the right tab? No. This is the tab that has this special alpha feature enabled. And it's going to take a second to run, so I'm going to explain it while I start running it. So I'm going to add a test, and I'm going to copy in a prompt that I prepared in advance and give it a name, add habit. And then let's kick this off. So what this is an AI test builder. It builds behavioral tests for Bubble applications. And what it's doing right now is it is actually checking out the app for real in preview mode and trying to figure out what I mean by this test. I wrote, this should test create a new habit on the index page, click the add habit button, a pop-up should appear, fill in go on adventure as the habit name, click add habit button in the pop-up, confirm that a habit appears in the list. In fact, I'll show you what it looks like in run mode. So I'm asking it to basically click this button, type a new habit in here, and then click this button. I'm not going to do it for real. Let's go back over and look at the test run. Okay, So what it did here is it created a test plan, and the test plan is actually built in Playwright, which is actually what we use internally for building tests that involve real browser interaction. So the test was created with AI, but what got created is actually deterministic. So I'm going to run it. And when the first time a test runs successfully, it locks in that test plan as like the authoritative, this is how the test should work. And you can see it says script locked. Apparently did all these steps, and I'll go back to show you the live application, and it created a number of Go On Adventures. Interesting. I don't know why it created 4 of them, but seems to be working somewhat. Let me see. This is the live demo adventure. This is.
We haven't done these for a while. It's good to be back.
Yeah. And then I can rerun it without rerunning the AI. So when I rerun it again, it's much faster. And should be much faster. Running the script. Yep. To pass in 4.3 seconds. And it should have created another one. If the test fails, it actually pops up a prompt where it sends the test result to Bubble AI so that you can actually run Bubble AI against the test. And that's actually where the real power of this comes in, because the reason that coding agents are so effective is feedback loops, right? Coding agents try stuff, they run the automated tests, they see if it works, they check their own work, and they can iterate until they get it working. Bubble hasn't had that so far, and that's one of the limitations of the Bubble agent. So by adding tests natively to the Bubble platform, we think we can create a feedback loop that should really increase the power of the Bubble agent's ability to build things in the editor. So that is the demo.
Yeah, and we keep repeating that Bubble is built for scale and production, and so having a good test suite is very important, as you all know, when you want to have an application that actually processes money transactions, important things at scale. And so this is a great addition to our product. That again, it's a new area for us, and we can't wait to launch that soon.
Which would be awesome.
Going back to
me, it looks like they're
another demo. So. The plugin editor hasn't changed in a long time. Like the UI of our plugin editor is pretty much the same, I think, since 2017 or 2018. And so it was long overdue for a refresh. And so I can't wait to show you that in a minute, what that looks like. This is a lot of work that was actually derived from the work we've done in the main editor and the property editor. I mean, we were able to reuse a lot of things to have a much cleaner and fresher user interface. A lot of it being built, by the way, on the feedback of the power users that built plugins. So thank you, keep sending coming. And so this is what it looks like now. So the flow here doesn't change dramatically, but the UI is much more intuitive, clean, and it will be much easier for us to iterate on this.
You didn't like the old design that we built in 2013 or 2014?
Well, I built it into
2015,
16, I think. I know it because, and I'm allowed to say that because I did. It did its job for some time, but I'm glad we moved on from this. And so here's an example. Here's what, for instance, what it looks to build a plugin element, for instance. So an element. So we have now this new way, to sort things that is much better than these very long things where people had to scroll everywhere. We have an updated code editors that is much more modern than before. So much easier for people to actually work in the editor. The API calls now use a similar UI that we use in the main editor. So that was another thing that we had some challenges with. And again, this is something that now we can start iterating more because it's modern. One of the important things for us when we upgrade some part of the editor is to make it much more manageable and maintainable to iterate on it. And so, yeah, very excited that finally the plugin editor is getting
it's good to be able to build
overhaul
on top of this.
I
see how.
All right.
And I'm really excited about the next
one.
This is the next one. This is the last one. We want to end on a little bit of a bang. So, yeah. So, going back to the reusable element in that property we added. The expression I put in this property, search for habits, these were habits that haven't been updated today, and the count is greater than 0. This basically means, are there any habits that haven't been updated today? This is a moderately complicated expression. It's also something that might be relevant to other places in the application. not just this particular place in the application. So wouldn't it be nice if you could reuse it? Well, this feature is not released yet, but it's going live right after the live stream. And what do we have here? Global tab. We've renamed styles to global. It's still home to your styles and variables, but now includes global expressions. That sounds promising. Let's see if this will help us with our problem. So it says, check it out. Let's check it out. And yeah, we still have styles, we still have variables, but now we have this new expressions tab, and let's do that. So I'm actually going to go back and copy this expression. I'm going to go back to globals and add one, and let's call it
It's going to be a fun journey. I think there's a lot to learn
that
about this one tool.
Been updated today, and this is a yes no, it's binary. And I'm going to paste in the expression I copied, and then I can go back to this, and I can, let's delete this, and then search for use global expression and have it update today. So we have just done a classic engineering refactor. The engineers watching this are thinking like, oh yeah, this is like classic refactoring, modularization. They're also thinking this is probably pretty close to functions. So let's actually go back and look at what we built here, because right now we're hard coding the current date and time, but what if we didn't want to hard code it? What if we wanted to make this flexible so we could like check this property for other dates? So I'm going to add a new parameter and call this date to check, and it's going to be type.
It's simple to pick up up front,
and then I can modify this expression,
which is why
and instead of current date time, I can just use date to check. And now we have a true function in Bubble. It takes parameters as input. And then, here, we can pass in the function call. And here, I'll just put the current date time because that's what we actually want here. So yeah, Bubble just got a lot more powerful and a lot more reusable. And that's where we're excited to end demos. And
yeah, I mean, just one thing on this. I mean, this is great also for maintenance. Like often, and we even have that in our own application. Like you forget to change one place, but then all the other places have been updated, and it's a bug. And it's a bug that as a product owner you have to investigate and fix and prevent. And so this will make things much leaner and much easier to maintain. So again, when it's about work on big applications and ensure they can scale nicely, this is a win. I mean, this is something I'm super excited personally. I wish I had that
many
years ago when I was on our main Bubble.io app. So
yeah, and again, this project was started in the last month, completely from start to finish, without just over the course of a single month. So really excited about what that holds. And now we're going to switch to the Q&A part of this event. So our team, I think, has been
I see
questions.
Quite a few questions actually. So I guess I'll read the first one. And I'll ask you, which feature update are you the most excited about?
This is a hard one. I'll go with what I just demoed, global expressions, because
And overall it was a good show. And I think what I see moving forward is some sort of just like a I think it's overall a good show. I had to fix the screen, but what I see is long-term usage of the platform. So far day one, I think it's gonna be interesting moving forward. I think into this new field, but it's just I wanted to just not jump in straight into the platform. Yeah, I could get into building, but like how, right? How do you actually learn to do it? Like I want to. Do I dive in and actually? I'll just go to Bubble Duck. Like I didn't create a new account yet. Interesting. me see. Enterprise. Overall, I think it was a good. I think I'm gonna be doing another one again. Um, and yeah, right now I'm learning a little bit about how. Right now, I want to dive into it, but I'm slowly not gonna take that step yet. I want to double check a couple of things. It's free to start. And there's not a lot of, you know, like I want to see something. And it's kind of broken down into three parts: design, data, and logic. So those are like the three pillars that I'm gonna have to just master. Of course, I'm gonna start with the design. So right now, what I want to do is I want to try to like maybe like rebuild YouTube or something. But like if I master the design, then I think all the other stuff will flow. But let me ask Gemini something real quick. So I'm using AI, and I want to actually build it using some kind of like AI fronted protocol, for example. So I'm just um, using AI to basically create success for myself by um, asking it what to just. Let me see. Hold on. All right, we have templates plugins. Okay. We're gonna get into the building. I wanted to just check it out. Yeah. So I'm asking ChatGPT a couple questions just to kickstart this journey. So I'm turning this into a project. Obviously, I had to write it down the correct way. Let me see. a new notebook. Since okay, with notebooks, then I can add Bubble.io into it, which is a good idea. So it'll become my study partner. So I went ahead and just uh, I don't know how loud. I have to check the ice cream, but I don't know how loud. I don't know if my voice is okay for that, but let's continue. I got a bubble on Gemini, a bubble instance on Notebook.lm. Basically, I'm pulling in two sources, Google.com and Bubble.io. And that's all I'll need. Um, I'll begin with just like I'll break it down by learning into the design, data, and logic. I'll start with design since it's easier. And I'll keep it simple enough to understand. So let's get into it. So I just picked up my learning journey. So day one, like I said, account setup and interface memorization, and with 2 bullet points. So that's for day one, account setup. So I'm setting the account, um, familiarizing myself with the layout, the interface, mostly just the buttons, and action. Go to bubble.io, sign up for free account, and create a blank app. Okay, I'm gonna do this step by step. Um, so I'm gonna create a blank app. Got it. So it's loading right now. So far, so good. Um, yeah, let me see. It's a couple extra stuff. Let's see. Okay, so now it's loaded. Now I completed the first checkbox and create a blank app. Now, what to study? Spent your 2 hours exploring the left-hand sidebar. Look at the design tab, the data tab, and the workflow tab. Don't try to build anything complex yet. Just click around, drag a button to the screen, and see how the property editor pops up. Oops, I was muted, but it's okay. I was just reading off of Gemini, my first week prompt. So far, what I'm seeing is so I'm in the editor right now, and so far I'm looking at the design options. There's builder, there's responsive. Builder looks like it just means like it's a little more needed. It's more detailed versions of like not it, but just it looks like it dives into the details of just every element that's available to use. Um, of course, right now I think I just have like I'm just editing like an index page. I think that's just all I have right now. Um, like if you look at the and this is in the sidebar, right? So day one, I'm looking at the design workflows, the, the workflows right here, and then the data tabs, the sidebar. And the sidebar has other stuff too, like the, the the menu. So there's the edit, back to apps, edit. Uh, comes with the standard editing, arrange, view. So there's X-ray mode elements, other stuff that I can view, switch on and off in the page. I can arrange certain things in the page, front and back. Of course, there's grids, there's guidelines. So if I can show grid as a standard 12 column grid, right? And I can um, turn off. And also I can turn up X-ray mode, which is something I also want to see. And there's gutters, there's other stuff too. And let me see what else. So far, I got the page set at 50%. So I zoomed out a little bit. Find element, of course, there's the index element, which is the main element we're working on. Of course, there's other. I can zoom out to kind of just see maybe like more elements if I want to. But that's how I'm able to just do that. So now this is the index page. What page is this? App manager. Can you see that? That's where I'm creating the web application here. And I'm starting from scratch, but so I'm in the design tab. And Bubble says to focus on design and data. So I'm in a blank application. I'm just spending 2 hours just just exploring the left hand sidebar basically. I'm going to be looking at the design, the workflow tab next. But I'm just digging into like the builder and some of the responsive tabs here, the layouts. So of course this page is set to currently fixed, but I can make it responsive, so on and so forth. I can pin, unpin more of the sidebar menus and back and forth. What I want is like I want to just at some point I'll get faster at this, right? But I want to go slow, right? And, steady. So this is what I've been up to so far. I switched from Gemini to Google LM, so it's a good study guide partner. It'll help me study faster with audio reviews, slide decks, other overview kind of tools and stuff like that. So I have to use it. I have 3 sources: Bubble, the main starting Gemini prompt, my main Gemini prompt, bubble.io, the main Bubble website, and just general google.com. So I don't need one. And I'm using Notebook LM by Google to generate an audio podcast for me. So give me like a full podcast for day 1 or something like that, and so on and so forth. So I'm taking it semi-casual. I know the first beginning of this prompt was just me looking at other channels, but this is laid back. This is sort of just okay for now, and then tomorrow I'll just do the full 2 hour basically. But I had to hit that 2 hour mark, and I think I'm about to just close the gap real quick because I don't know how much I'll be able to do in the next, I don't know, 7 minutes. So I'm looking at it like that. So as I'm closing down the stream, I think this is a good moment to just pause it. I like everything that's been that it looks like so far. I'm not even going that deep into it for today, but for tomorrow I will. So all this being said, so I went over to the design tab. I went to the build and responsive. I looked at both of those. What that means in terms of just generalities. Just notice this one. Getting used to those things. Creating a fixed layout. Okay. And then the builder area. The visual elements one by one over to the index page. And I can group them. And I can add them to the group. And, that's the container section. I'm going to go for repeating groups, pop-ups, floating groups, group focus, table, input forms, and that's it. There's just 3 main ones, basically. Visual, containers, and input. There's no reusable elements right now. I don't have any. So that's simple. The design is pretty obvious how easy it is to get into the design, but the design, I want to get into like, I want to pick a good design flow in terms of the philosophy um, that, in terms of a design philosophy, I want to actually study design so I can actually get good at building design on these kind of website pages. So it's one of those things. So of course I'm going to be looking at the design tab, data tab, workflow tab. Right now, it's kind of gone ahead, and I want to end on time. But let me move over to my notebook and show you guys what I got next for the next couple of days. I got the main prompt on Gemini. Let me see if it pulls it up. Yeah, it shows me a little bit of it. Yeah, it shows me the main prompt. So I have a 14-day runway. So basically every day I'm doing little by little. So I got a 2-week runway. I have a little bit of a background. So in the next 3 minutes, a background in what's it called? Building with visual development, right? I've done visual development before, where it's like Elementor. I've built in those kind of environments before, and so this could have been a good like way to move forward. But Elementor is very design focused. It has a lot of design focused kind of features. But I'm not saying that I can't build myself an awesome looking website with Bubble. Of course, I want to look at learning design. Learning no-code design, right? So my previous background, I used to really work using Elementor. It's coming to the hour, so I'm closing in shortly. Page builder for WordPress. Custom websites. I plan on exploring that. Exploring the fact that I did learn Elementor. Like that was one of those things that I used. And for me to take on Bubble and just focus on the design, like I want my design, like if I were to pick one of those 3 pillars, design has to just be like it. Like it has to just be already good. Like I have to have a good foundation. And I think design is a good foundation. Design and data, I think they said is a good foundation. But design has to come from the fact that me doing this by myself and me building apps, I'm not just designing, right? I'm not just buying templates. I'm not just asking AI. AI will help me to build the design out for me, which will help. But at the same time, I guess, I like to be able to just learn how to do that kind of no-code designing, right? and it's, there's Framer out there, there's Webflow, and Bubble has its own niche, which is why it's a stable, popular platform. It's a stable platform first, and a platform that will not go away anytime soon, right? So that's kind of what I got for Bubble for now. Um, I did a little bit of fidgeting on the screen. I went over the layers, visual elements, containers. Tomorrow's 2 hours is gonna be me looking more at, what's this side of this thing called? The property editor. So this side, which I just did that, and then let me see if I can do it here. Yeah, with that too. And if I could just do this and then like this, and then just the screen in the middle, and I have full control over like, I don't know, like right now I can see a lot of this white gray area in the white spaces, but I'm gonna go over the property editor tomorrow. And not only that, like I want to really solidify like the design. Like I want to have some kind of like actual like foundation. So like I want to know, like I'm gonna learn, of course, where like all this stuff is at. You know, um, like I want to look at every single options. I want to look at the references. I want to read the references, and that's me studying. I'm actually reading the references. I'm actually looking at what works, what doesn't. Like I can see, some stuff sometimes just can be right clicked, sometimes it can't, and that's an interesting fact. Let me see, like the containers area can't be right clicked, but the element tree area can, right? So the element tree can be right clicked, but the assets cannot be right clicked, which makes sense. So I see that it's separated into two, right? And this is stuff that I'm gonna be, assets and elements. Okay, boom, and that's the builders, and that's the design, responsive, boom, 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 boom. And I'm learning as I go. I like where it's going. This group's, for example, like this, the name of this group probably can just be named something here. That's and so this is like, for example, here, like text, this is the text, like this is the label, this is the content, right? So I'm gonna be getting better at like naming the icons, the link, like they're still having the same kind of vibes to it. So of course, some of this stuff, coming from Elementor, I already knew, but it's just that I plan on exploring the fact that the design tab is portion is something I can probably master in like 2 weeks fully. And by fully, I mean like I'll be able to just be able to pull. Let me see if that means install app. One second. What does that mean? Not right now. And design fully. And all I would need is like templates, mockups. Like I can just really pop up Google. I can just look at Instagram. I can look at different. I can look at I can look at a beautiful like Stripe website like Stripe and be able to do a design around. New websites too. I can go on Dribble and start, recreating those kind of websites and so on and so forth. So something to look forward to. I plan on exploring the fact that the design portion is something I can expand and master in about a month. Like I'll master, like not master this depth to it. Like, I mean, How long can it really take to master the design? Let me see. I know it's not just the design, but I want to get comfortable. Does it take like a year to master this? It's not the mastering, it's more like, am I building anything? You know? It's a SaaS platform. It doesn't just, you don't just master web development, right? You're always learning. So it's more like, am I like proficient? Am I good at it? Like, am I able to solve problems? Like at what level? That's the main question. And I'm doing it, you know. Let me see what's here. Yeah, it's like a CRUD app to-do list or something. I could just build a to-do list and just go on from there. And of course, they're gonna help me with all these projects. You know, like I'm not trying to go too fast, but I'll master the fundamentals in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks to master the fundamentals. The way I'm doing it, this I want to actually go slower than that, but while still clicking. You know, I think it's more just, am I gonna, you know, the fundamentals are just knowing the sidebar. Like that's really what that. It's like the fundamentals, and then my first project comes from like, you know, just following the guide. I'm not trying to go too fast, too furious. Let me see. So, but it's all about that. So let me listen to the. Let me listen to this. Oops. Remove source. It's like a little song. It's like a mini podcast. Let's see.
Imagine trying to get into like this really exclusive nightclub.
Okay.
But instead of the bouncer just, checking your ID,
25 minutes. Here's what I'll do. I'll do this one tomorrow. This is actually a good idea. So the first part of the thing is me learning this, which is actually a good idea. I like the fact that they built this out for me. I thought it was like 3 minutes, but it's more like, so building my first app, right? And what that looks like is I'm gonna have to add it as a source somehow. Right? Rename. That's what it says. the first step in fertility. Now, this is just, you know, sources. But can it do that again and again? Let me see. I'm gonna do it again because practical learning tips. And then so weekly milestones. I don't know when this is gonna end. Oh, and then let's begin right now. Let's see. Some growth. Okay. And then this is good for now. So this is gonna be. Well, I'm gonna have to listen to this now, I guess, while they're generating the audio.
Imagine trying to get into like this really exclusive nightclub.
Okay.
But instead of the bouncer just, checking your ID, he shines a flashlight in your eyes. He inspects the tread on your shoes, runs a full background check on your IP address. Yeah. Analyzes your network traffic history and tracks the micro movements of your hands.
That is an intense bouncer.
Right. But for decades, I mean, if you wanted to build software, you didn't just have to build the nightclub itself. You had to program that intensely paranoid bouncer.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
You had to construct the fortress, lay all the plumbing, and, manage the entire security protocol.
Yeah.
It was this environment that essentially locked you out completely, unless you had a computer science degree or, $40,000 to drop on a coding boot camp.
Which most people don't have.
Exactly.
Thanks.
But today, for this deep dive, our mission is entirely different. We are going to map out exactly how you, the listener, can transform from an absolute beginner into a fully capable web and mobile app developer.
It's completely doable now.
It is. And we are going to do it based on a highly specific 14-day roadmap, requiring just 2 hours of your time each day.
I mean, we are operating in a truly unprecedented window of technological history right now.
Yeah.
The traditional, towering barriers to creating software are just being systematically dismantled.
Right before our eyes.
Exactly. But because the gates are suddenly wide open, the sheer volume of tools and tutorials and platforms, it actually creates a massive new problem. Total paralysis. Without a really structured problem-solving approach to learning, it is remarkably easy to wander into this new landscape and immediately just drown in information overload.
Which is exactly why we've assembled a very focused stack of sources to guide you through this deep dive today.
Good call.
We are drawing from a comprehensive step-by-step learning journey guide for a no-code development platform called Bubble.io.
Excellent source.
Yeah, and we're pairing that with some staggering performance metrics straight from Bubble's own documentation. But to actually understand why a platform like Bubble is so revolutionary, We are starting with something completely counterintuitive.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
I am looking at one of our sources right now, and it is literally just a Google error page.
It is a strange artifact to include, for sure.
Yeah.
But it perfectly encapsulates the hidden, agonizing reality of how the internet fundamentally operates underneath the glossy interface.
Okay, let's unpack this, because reading through this source, it's just a standard Google KPCHA page.
Right.
The text says, our systems have detected unusual traffic from your computer network. It then forces the user to prove they aren't a robot before proceeding.
We've all seen it.
We all hate it. It actually goes as far as listing the exact IP address, 66.102.6.35, and stamps it with the date, June 4th, 2026.
Right. Highly specific.
Yeah, it's flagging the session for potentially utilizing malicious software or automated scripts that violate the terms of service. So it goes right back to that paranoid bouncer checking if you're human.
Exactly.
But I do have to push back on our own outline here for a second.
Okay.
Why are we analyzing a Google error page when the mission today is supposed to be learning how to build our own apps?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of software engineering, that error page represents the invisible infrastructure that absolutely crushes most beginners.
How so?
When you imagine building an app, you naturally focus on the product, right?
Right. What it looks like.
Exactly. The design, the user experience, what the app actually does. But traditional web development requires you to constantly manage the back-end mechanics.
Imagine trying to get into like this really exclusive nightclub,
Okay.
but instead of the bouncer just, checking, oh, hey there, how can we help?
Mechanics that are listed on that error page.
Oh, I see.
You are spinning up servers, you are routing DNS records and configuring IP addresses.
Sounds exhausting.
It is. You're writing complex conditional rules for how data packets flow across networks. And, crucially, you are building the security protocols to detect automated bots and malicious traffic.
So if I sit down to write traditional clean, I'm spending my first 3 weeks just building the security cameras, setting up the velvet ropes, and basically negotiating with the bouncer.
Exactly.
Long before my user ever gets to click a sign up button or see my actual product.
Yeah. You are fighting massive infrastructure battles just to get a blank page on the internet.
Wow.
And this is the core value proposition of no-code platforms like Bubble.io. The entire paradigm shift is that they completely abstract all of that server-side complexity away.
They just handle it.
Yes, you don't configure an IP address, you don't write traffic routing rules, the platform handles the infrastructure automatically.
Which
means all of your cognitive energy is spent entirely on designing what your app actually does.
Man, that immediately lowers the blood pressure. Nobody wants to configure server routing just to launch a simple internal tool. But here's where it gets really interesting, because when people hear the buzzword no-code, they tend to picture a very basic drag-and-drop website builder.
Sure, like a template.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The kind of tool a local coffee shop uses to post their hours, like a PDF of their menu.
Right.
But the source material highlighting Bubble's metrics paints a radically different picture of the scale we are dealing with here.
The scale completely shatters that stereotype of the basic website builder. I mean, we are talking about genuine software engineering here, just executed through a visual interface.
The numbers in the documentation are honestly wild. The platform hosts 5 million builders and 6 million apps,
It's massive.
supported by an ecosystem of 8,000 plugins. And the sources highlight that builders aren't just using this for hobby sites. They are building complex SaaS platforms, software as a service, intricate multi-sided marketplaces, and deeply integrated AI applications.
Real businesses.
Yeah, we're looking at mission-critical, high-volume applications for legitimate companies like Hive Health, Church Space, and Seagate.
Right, Seagate.
And perhaps most aggressively, the documentation notes that you can now seamlessly toggle between AI prompting and visual editing.
Yes, that's huge.
So looking at these features, are we finally at the point where you literally just speak into a microphone, tell the computer to build a massive, scalable enterprise application, and it just does it perfectly?
Okay, stop. I love this question because this is where my mind gets completely blown, but it is also where we have to draw a massive line in the sand.
Okay, Troll.
The distinction between Launching a fragile prototype and launching a robust, scalable app is literally everything.
Right.
Yes, the platform is powerful enough to run Seagate's internal mission-critical tools handling thousands of concurrent data entries. And yes, the AI integration is accelerating the build process at an absurd rate. But there is a reason they call it visual development. You are still engineering software. You can absolutely build whatever complex architecture you envision, but you must understand the underlying framework to control it.
So you can't just talk to it.
No, you cannot just shout a prompt at a computer and expect a perfectly relational, scalable database to magically materialize if you don't even know what a relational database is.
Because when the AI inevitably makes a mistake, or an edge case user breaks a feature, you are totally blind.
Completely blind.
It would be like having a brilliant architect draw up the blueprints for a massive skyscraper in a language you don't speak.
Yeah.
The building gets constructed, but the moment a water pipe bursts in the walls, you're standing there holding a wrench with absolutely no idea where the shutoff valve is.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. You still need the foundational critical thinking skills of a software engineer, even if you are entirely bypassing the syntax of traditional code.
Got it.
Which perfectly frames why a structured, methodical learning journey is absolutely non-negotiable if you actually want to be a builder.
So, to harness this power without ending up holding a wrench in the dark, our sources lay out a specific 2-week mission. Just 2 hours a day.
Which is very manageable.
Totally. But rather than blindly clicking around the blank canvas, we have to tackle the development process by solving specific sequential problems. And the very first problem any software faces is building the visual shell.
Right.
The sources call this phase mastering the visual pillars, specifically design and Flexbox.
Because the interface is the only part of the application your user will ever actually experience. So the underlying logic of how that interface behaves is critical.
The roadmap suggests spending your initial sessions, basically day one, simply getting familiar with the environment.
Yeah, don't rush it.
Right, looking at the design tab, the data tab, the workflow tab, without trying to build the next Airbnb on day one.
Exactly.
But very quickly, on days 2 and 3, you are forced to master the Bubble Flexbox layout system. You have to learn how to manipulate row containers, column containers, and align to parent settings.
Crucial stuff.
The practice exercise is to recreate a sophisticated profile card, like you would see on Twitter or LinkedIn. But I have to challenge this concept for a second.
Go for it.
If the entire selling point of no code is visual development, why am I forced to learn a rigid system of rows and columns?
I see what you're saying.
Like if I want a button in the top right corner, why can't I just click it, drag it to the top right, drop it like I'm in Photoshop, and call it a day?
Because you aren't designing a static piece of paper. The internet is a fundamentally fluid medium.
Okay.
If you manually drag a button to the top right corner of your massive 32-inch desktop monitor, where exactly does that button exist when a user opens your application on a narrow, vertically oriented smartphone screen?
Right. The coordinates wouldn't match up at all.
Not even close.
The button would just be floating completely off the screen into the void.
It would be entirely inaccessible and your application would be broken. This is the absolute necessity of responsive design.
So Flexbox fixes that.
Exactly. The Flexbox system doesn't dictate what your design looks like. It dictates how your elements behave relative to one another when the screen size inevitably changes.
Gotcha.
If you place elements inside a row container, you are writing a visual rule that says, keep these items sitting side by side.
Right.
If you use a column container, the rule becomes stack these elements vertically. By forcing you to structure your interface with these containers, the platform guarantees that your application will dynamically adapt.
It'll just work.
It'll function flawlessly, whether it's viewed on a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile phone.
So you aren't just drawing a picture, you're writing a set of behavioral rules for the interface.
Precisely.
Okay, so we solved the visual shell. We have a beautiful interface that works on any device. But a beautiful interface on its own kind of has amnesia, right?
Yes, it does.
If a user types their name into a box and hits enter, the app immediately forgets it. So the next conceptual hurdle we have to clear on days 4 and 5 is giving the application a memory.
This brings us to the data architecture, which is notoriously where beginners hit their first major wall.
It's intimidating.
It is, because it requires a fundamental shift in how you conceptualize information.
Our sources suggest focusing on building a custom data type, specifically a job listing.
Okay.
And inside that job listing, you create specific data fields. But this is where it gets very rigid. The source stresses that you must explicitly define the type of data.
Right.
A title must be defined as text. A salary must be defined as a number. A company name might be linked to another custom data type entirely. I mean, why does the database require this level of strict categorization?
It's a great question.
Why can't it just be an open text document that saves whatever the user types, like a smart Excel sheet?
Because this touches on the absolute core of software engineering relational architecture. We aren't just storing information to read it later.
Oh, not.
No, we are structuring information so the application can manipulate, filter, and connect it at massive scale.
Oh, I see.
Think about it like this. If you allow a user to type the words $50,000 into an open text field for salary, the computer just reads that as a string of alphabetical characters.
Like the letter F.
Exactly. So if another user wants to filter all job listings to only show salaries above $60,000, the application is physically incapable of performing that query. It cannot run a mathematical operation on alphabetical text.
Because it's trying to calculate if the letter F is greater than the number 60,000, it just breaks.
Precisely. And it goes much deeper than basic math. By strictly defining data types, you unlock relational databases.
Right.
As you mentioned, you don't just type a company name as text. You link the job listing data type directly to a separate company data type, which is linked to a user data type.
Everything is connected.
Exactly. This means if a company updates its logo, that new logo instantly populates across every single job listing they've ever posted because the data is relationally linked, not just copied and pasted.
Wow.
Mastering this architecture, really understanding how different buckets of information relate to one another, is the defining characteristic of a true developer.
So if we look at our progress on this roadmap moving into week 2, we have built the responsive visual shell and we have constructed the relational memory database.
Like we're getting there.
But they are completely isolated from one another. The shell doesn't talk to the database yet. The final major hurdle in the learning journey is building the engine that actually drives the application.
This is where we introduce dynamic logic. The application basically needs a nervous system to pass information between the interface and the database.
The sources refer to this as workflows. We're looking at days 6 and 7 here. The foundational logic is incredibly straightforward. When X happens, do Y.
Classic programming logic.
Right. And the practical exercise here is brilliant in its simplicity. You build a blank text input box on the screen and a submit button next to it.
Simple enough.
Then, you construct a workflow. The logic states, when the submit button is clicked, create a new entry in the database under job listing and set the title of that job to whatever text the user currently has typed inside the input box. You are officially capturing a user's action and translating it into stored memory.
It is the absolute heartbeat of all software. It is an event-driven architecture.
Event-driven.
Yeah, the application just sits idle, listening for an event, in this case, the user clicking a button, and that event triggers a cascading series of database actions.
But once you have that data safely stored inside the database, you have to get it back out onto the screen for other people to see.
Obviously.
Which leads to days 8 and 9, and what the source calls Bubble's most powerful visual element, the repeating group.
Oh, this is the magic right here.
It explains this by comparing it to an email inbox or a Netflix homepage. Which makes sense, because when I open my email, Google isn't hand-coding a unique visual page just for my specific emails.
No, that would be completely impossible to scale. Google built one single visual template, a row with a bold sender name, a subject line, and a date.
Right.
The application then queries your specific database of emails and populates that single template dynamically.
I always picture a repeating group as a magical, self-replicating picture frame.
I like that analogy.
You spend your time designing the frame perfectly just one time. You decide exactly where the title goes, what font the description uses, how the borders look.
You perfect the layout.
Yeah. Then you point that single frame in your database of job listings. The system automatically multiplies that frame, stacking it down the page, and injects the specific data from each job listing into a new frame.
Automatically.
If a user submits a new job to the database right now, a brand new frame instantly appears on the screen, perfectly formatted, without you ever having to design a new page.
That is exactly how you achieve enterprise scale. You don't build 100 pages for 100 job listings. You build a single page utilizing a repeating group, and that page can display 10 listings or 10 million listings flawlessly.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Now this brings us to day 10. And a really fascinating pivot in the source material.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because up until this point in the roadmap, We have been manually building the database, manually defining the workflows, and manually designing the repeating groups.
Doing the hard work.
Right. But the guide suddenly introduces the Bubble AI advantage. It explains that you can use built-in AI tools to automatically generate page layouts or even map out your entire database structure just from a text prompt.
Yep, this is the game changer.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Does the AI just build the whole thing for you?
The way the AI maps a database conceptually is actually staggering. Like, if you provide a prompt saying, I want to build a two-sided marketplace for freelance graphic designers, the AI instantly understands the semantic relationships required.
Just from that one sentence.
Yes, it will automatically generate a user data type, a portfolio item data type, and a project contract data type. It will establish all the relational links between them, recognizing that a contract requires a link to a freelancer and a client.
Wow.
It builds the entire foundational architecture in seconds.
So what does this all mean? I mean, if the AI can instantly architect my database and generate my layouts, why on earth did we just spend all this time learning how to manually build workflows and data types?
Right, why bother?
Doesn't the AI make human logic obsolete? Why not just start with the AI prompt on day one?
What's fascinating here is this is the exact trap that leaves thousands of beginners with broken applications they simply can't fix.
Oh.
AI is an incredibly powerful accelerator, but it is not a replacement for comprehension. Let's say you use the AI to generate that massive freelance marketplace.
Okay.
It spits out 30 different interconnected custom data types. But when a user tries to upload a portfolio piece, the workflow fails and the image doesn't save to the database. How do you fix it?
I assume most people would just furiously type another prompt asking the AI to fix the bug.
And what happens when the AI's attempted fix accidentally breaks the relational link to the user's payment profile?
Total disaster.
Exactly. Without the critical thinking skills developed by manually building workflows, without fundamentally understanding how data passes from an input field into a custom data type, you are completely helpless. You are essentially locked out of your own application.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. The AI is phenomenal at getting you past the blank canvas and generating boilerplate architecture. But you must possess the technical literacy to audit the AI's work, troubleshoot the logic, and refine the workflows.
It's like the AI is the general contractor building the house at lightning speed, but you still have to be the architect who understands how the load-bearing walls work.
Perfect analogy.
Okay, so we understand the problems we have. To solve the visual shell, the relational memory, and the dynamic logic, we have the complete 2-week roadmap. But as anyone who has ever tried to learn a new skill knows, understanding a roadmap and actually walking the path are two wildly different experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
And the source material highlights a massive psychological pitfall that stops people dead in their tracks, along with a highly specific methodology to overcome it.
Right, the execution phase. This is where the vast majority of aspiring builders fail.
Really, the majority?
Yes, and they don't fail because they lack the intelligence. They fail because they use the wrong methodology to learn.
The guide calls this trap tutorial hell.
It's a very real place.
It is a very specific phenomenon where you sit down, you watch 2 straight hours of a beautifully edited tutorial, and you feel like an absolute genius.
Everything makes perfect sense.
Exactly. You nod along, you totally comprehend what the instructor is doing, and you feel incredibly productive. But the exact second you close the video and stare at a blank application on your own, your brain completely empties.
You freeze.
You can't even remember how to center a button. It's like watching cooking shows for hours, but never actually turning on your oven.
Because watching a tutorial is a state of passive consumption. You are outsourcing the cognitive load to the instructor.
Wow, yeah.
The instructor is encountering the problem, navigating the friction, and discovering the solution. You are simply observing the final result.
Which is why the source prescribes a strict methodology called the 50-50 rule to combat this.
It is arguably the most important piece of advice in the entire document.
The rule dictates that out of your dedicated 2 hours a day, you're only allowed to spend exactly 1 hour watching tutorials, reading documentation, or consuming content.
Just 1 hour.
Just one. The second hour must be spent with all tutorials closed, actively trying to build what you just learned from scratch, or applying the concept to your own mini project.
Which is much harder than it sounds.
For sure. But for you, the listener, sitting down for that second hour, the active building hour, is going to be incredibly frustrating. You are going to forget how the Flexbox column aligns. You are going to set up a workflow, click the button, and absolutely nothing will happen.
That's guaranteed.
So how do they push through when the application just won't work and they desperately want to go back to the safety of a tutorial?
You have to fundamentally reframe how you view that frustration. That friction is not a sign of failure.
It's not.
No. The intense cognitive strain you feel when you are desperately trying to recall how to link a workflow to a repeating group that struggle is the literal neurological process of your brain forming new pathways.
Oh, wow.
When you step away from the tutorial and force yourself to solve the problem, you are experiencing the exact moment of transition. That is the exact second you stop being a passive consumer of technology and become an active builder.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
The friction isn't the obstacle. The friction is the entire point of the exercise.
The friction is the point. If you aren't struggling during that second hour, you aren't actually learning.
Exactly.
And if you embrace that friction, the ultimate target the source sets for this 14-day sprint is incredibly grounded. It states that by the end of 2 weeks, using the 50-50 rule, your goal is to successfully build a functional to-do list app or a simple job board.
Very achievable.
It needs to contain just 4 core elements: a user login system, an input form to capture data, a relational database to store it, and a repeating group to display it back to the user. The guide claims that if you can independently build that loop, you have officially mastered the foundational principles of software development.
And that claim is entirely mathematically sound.
Really, just from a to-do list.
Absolutely, because when you strip away all the branding and the complex algorithms, an enterprise platform like Twitter or a massive marketplace like Airbnb is fundamentally just an infinitely more complex version of a to-do list.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
It's true. It is a system where users log in, generate data, save it to a database, and display it dynamically to other users. Once you master that single foundational loop, you possess the structural keys to build almost anything.
Wow. Well, we have covered an immense amount of ground in this deep dive.
We really have.
We started by staring at the rigid, intimidating reality of traditional web development. The Google CapET CHAs, the server routing, the bots. All the hidden infrastructure that acts like a bouncer keeping people out of the club.
A velvet rope.
Exactly. But we discovered that by dedicating just 2 hours a day, visual development platforms like Bubble offer complete bypass to those archaic barriers.
They tear down the walls.
They really do. By methodically solving the problems of design, data, and logic, and strictly enforcing that 50-50 rule to embrace the friction of learning, you can literally build a functional, scalable software application in 14 days.
It represents a profound shift in human capability, which actually raises a very important question we haven't addressed yet.
Ooh, lay it on us.
This raises an important question. We have spent this entire deep dive exploring how rapidly the technical barriers to entry are collapsing. Between visual development frameworks and AI accelerators, the friction between having an idea and executing that idea is rapidly approaching zero.
Yeah, the gap is closing.
So when literally anyone can build a complex, scalable software application in a matter of weeks without needing a massive team of engineers or venture capital, what happens to the inherent value of an idea?
Oh, that completely flips the script.
Right.
Because for the last 20 years, everyone has had $1 million app idea in their head.
Yeah.
But execution was the impossible moat that kept them from acting on it.
And now that the technical moat has evaporated, the bouncer at the door is no longer checking if you know how to write server code.
Wow.
The bouncer is only checking if you have the discipline to sit down, endure the friction, and actually build it. Which leaves you with the most thrilling and terrifying question of all. Now that the technical excuses are gone, what will you build?
What an incredible place to leave it. The tools are waiting, the roadmap is clear, and the friction is entirely yours to conquer. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one. Right now, out in the real world, there are enterprise-level applications managing just massive global supply chains.
Oh, absolutely. Huge systems.
Yeah, and they're handling, sensitive patient health data. They're processing
Excuse me. Sorry about that. All right, guys. I think this is good enough for now. Not that it's judging by the moment, but I think it's about to be like 3 hours now. I did a little bit extra with you guys. And I plan on pushing some extra other type of content, up from this. Um, I had an idea for Simple Millennial, but I think I like it so far. And I'll be pushing other stuff out, so just watch out for that on my social media. Now, if you need help with a website or anything like that, let me know. Drop a comment, DM me, or send me a message. And yeah, I'll be on the lookout for all that. And also, I'm just gonna end the stream saying thank you. And yeah, I like the overall style of the stream. I'll be doing it daily, so these are daily streams, right? I haven't live streamed. I stopped something going on in another channel. I think it was just consistency, but in focus. But the overall outlook is just obviously just execution. Am I executing for the zeros and ones? Am I on, right, versus off? So I consider it's a win times 45 minutes extra, 46 minutes now, and but this is good enough for day one. And I'm gonna keep it within 2 hours next time. Of course, you guys shouldn't have to stay for 3 hours watching build and code and stuff. But yeah, okay. catch you guys later. Thank you very much for